for addressing the council. There is a raise your hand feature if you have any questions, but otherwise I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Paul Butkus. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Butkus, the chair of the Connecticut Historic Preservation Council, and I'm calling to order our December 4th, 2024 meeting. Attending this morning are the following council members: Beth Ackley, Vincenzia Aduse, Beth Burgess, myself, Paul Butkus, Marguerite Carnell, Thomas Elmore, Leah Glazer, Andy Horowitz, Deanna Rhodes, and Sarah Sportman. Quorum is therefore present. The following is the Historic Preservation Council's format and review of public comment procedures. Given the online format of today's meeting, and for those who are visitors today, I want to review and explain our procedures. The order of presentation. I'll read each motion and ask for the motion to be moved and seconded. Staff will present the agenda item to the council, and council members will have an opportunity to ask questions. If called upon by staff, a representative of the organization may offer statements or address council's questions. For members of the public who wish to speak to the agenda item, we ask that you identify yourself and your affiliation. After all questions have been addressed and statements made, a roll call vote will be taken. If members of the public have letters and/or written statements they wish to submit to the record, please email them to Jonathan Kinney at jonathan.kinney@ct.gov. The Historic Preservation Council takes statements from members of the public but does not respond to questions. Lastly, please only address the particular agenda item being addressed at that time. The following is the Historic Preservation Council's policy regarding conflict of interest. The Historic Preservation Council votes on matters which provide leadership, service, and economic benefits to property owners, consultants, local governments, and not-for-profit organizations. Given this responsibility and to maintain the highest professional standards in the discharge of our duties, it's important to maintain a strong code of ethics for all council members and department employees. In order to avoid possible violations of the Department of Economic and Community Development ethics statement, it is necessary for the council to be aware of any situations in which there's a real, potential, or apparent conflict of interest involving anyone here. A conflict of interest may occur when a public official's participation in agency matters results in personal financial gain. All council and staff have been provided a copy of the Department of Economic and Community Development ethics statement and governing state statutes. Having reviewed them and today's agenda, members of the council and staff are now asked to disclose any affiliations with entities or projects that may create a conflict of interest as defined by agency policy and pursuant to Connecticut General Statute I-79 through I-89, entitled Code of Ethics for Public Officials. Once disclosed, the member or staff may recuse themselves from that particular agenda item. Having read this statement, are there any council or staff members that would like to disclose conflict of interest to any of the items on today's agenda? Deanna Rhodes, I see your hand raised.
Sure. I'd like to recuse myself from the application regarding the church in Norwich, please.
Thank you. And Beth Ackley, I see your hand is also raised.
Yes, it is. I would like to recuse myself from the Matthew Curtis House project in Newtown.
Okay. Recused members are asked to leave the meeting platform for that agenda item, and staff will send a text message to members when they may return to the meeting. For council members being recused, please make sure that staff has your cell numbers so they can communicate with you via text message. Deanna, you still have your hand raised? Did you have it raised twice? Okay.
Turn it off.
Thank you. Okay, item 4A. The meeting minutes for the November 6th, 2024 meeting minutes were provided to council members via email from Jonathan Kinney. Are there any corrections? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved, Beth Burgess.
Thank you, Beth. And a second?
Marguerite.
Thank you, Marguerite. I'll go to the roll call vote. Beth Ackley,
Aye.
Via Duce,
Aye.
Beth Burgess,
Aye.
I'll abstain, Marguerite Cornell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Leah Glazer,
Aye.
Andy Horowitz,
Aye.
Sarah Nelson is not here, Deanna Rhodes,
Aye.
and Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Thank you, everyone. Moving right along, because I know people have a lot of time constraints today. Our first action item is item 5B1, State Historic Preservation Grants. I'll read the motion and ask for a motion in a second. The Historic Preservation Council, I guess, Deanna, this is Norwich. See you soon. The Historic Preservation Council votes to award a survey and planning grant funded by the Community Investment Act to the state of Connecticut to the below listed applicant in the amount shown. All grant guidelines and state requirements shall be met by the below listed applicant upon receipt of a grant as administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. Staff recommends the application for funding. The applicant is the Episcopal Church of Connecticut, and the project is Geophysical Survey for Human Burials at the former Episcopal Church of Norwich, built in 1849, located at 78 Washington Street, Norwich, Connecticut. The amount requested is $5,000. Can I have a motion to approve?
Beth Ackley, so moved.
Thank you, Beth. And a second? Do I hear a second?
Via
Thank you, Vi.
second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Good morning, everybody. This is Mary. Staff does recommend approval of this application. A very unusual situation, as you noted in the narrative, that the Episcopal Church of Connecticut has deconsecrated the church, and I guess by virtue of an agreement, they need to give the property back to descendants of the original landowners. The issue, as you know, is that there are known burials under the parking lot and perhaps elsewhere. And so before they can actually give the property back, they need to identify any bodies that are buried and then properly exhume and then reinter them somewhere else. I believe the whole area is less than an acre, so this budget will fit this project. John Heflin from the Episcopal Church is here to answer any questions that I can't. If you have any comments or questions.
Thank you, Mary. Questions from council members? Sarah Sportman?
Yeah, it's not so much a question as just a comment on kind of a finer point on the application, but I just noted that in the application, it said that they were going to CPR to identify the number of skeletons in the property. And I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that that's a little bit.
Sarah,
beyond-
it's Jonathan. I'm sorry. It's very hard to hear you. Is anybody else having a hard time to
Oh,
hear you?
sorry.
Yes.
It's okay.
Just a little.
I always forget how bad the mic is. Can you hear me better now?
Much better.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'll just lean in. So I just, wanted to clarify that it's unlikely that the GPR is going to be able to give you that level of resolution to give you a number of skeletons. What it probably can do is give you a good estimate of the number of burial features, which could be a very different thing than the number of skeletons. So I just think keeping that in mind is going to be an important part moving forward. But that's,
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
just.
thank-
Hi, I'm John Heflin from the Episcopal Diocese. Thank you for letting me sit in this morning. Yeah, to clarify, we're just trying to identify the area just so we could see, and instead of digging arbitrarily all over the property, this would certainly streamline the process for us so we could do what is required of us to do to the descendants of the property.
Andy Horowitz?
And
Oh, sorry, Mary. Mary, you wanted to add to that?
no, just going to say, yeah, that's a good point, well taken. And when I was reading it, I did notice that, and I should have made a note that that this method is to detect anomalies and
Right.
possible burial shafts, but not actual bodies or skeletons or, so we'll be more mindful moving forward in future narratives.
Thank you. Andy?
I of course totally understand the legal and ethical necessity of doing this, and I embrace the idea totally. I was curious just because it struck me as a little bit different than what we usually see, because this was research with the intent to destroy the historic site. And I just wondered if we are there any restrictions on our funding? Is there a precedent for this kind of this kind of action being funded? That's my question.
That's a interesting question, and I'm not sure I have the answer to that. I mean, in this case, the area is a paved parking lot, and in this case, it is necessary to respectfully, treat these burials. But yeah, we have not. This grant has not covered a project of this nature before. No.
Have we ever funded something like a building that's going to collapse, so we have documented it pre-collapse?
We generally don't fund that. Sometimes we do request it or require it, like as maybe as mitigation if somebody's planning to demolish the resource anyway. So no, we would. Yeah, no, not that I
just wonder if there's a way of and I would defer to those with a lot more expertise and experience here about whether this is worth worrying about at all. And I would accept the answer, no, don't worry about it, very, very readily. But I wonder if there's a way of describing what we're doing that's not so, in a way, this seems like producing blueprints in order to safely demolish a building. And I don't think we would do that. I don't think we could fund that. So I'm just wondering, is there a way of, certainly we fund all the time surveys to find out where there are human remains. So even just disaggregating it from the need to move them. Anyway, if you tell me not to worry about it, I won't. But it did occur to me that this arrives to us as a very, very different kind of request than any that I've seen in my years in the council.
Yeah, it is different. It is a different purpose than what we are used to seeing for this particular grant. I won't give you a blanket, don't worry. I will say we will be mindful on a case-by-case basis to really think about what the implications of our funding are. I know that, very often you will list a building on the state register, knowing that somebody's planning to demolish it, but not taking that into account. That happens.
That's very much the sort of question I'm looking for here. If you told me that we were funding to find out where there are human remains, again, we fund those almost every meeting, and there's no objection whatsoever to that.
Right. But you're right. That's usually in order to protect them, in case there's development. But in a way, but this is sort of, except for that the end result will be moving the remains. We don't know what the owners of the property plan for the church or the property, and so it is a protective feature in that case. But we don't really have any say or control over what the
like I
owners
say,
want
the
to do. Yeah.
legal and ethical part of this is very clear, and we're being respectful of those human remains, and that's why I'm not worried about it conceptually. It's just anyway. I'll stop talking about it. I trust that my question is clear.
Yeah, your point is clear, and it doesn't come up often, but we will consider in that context, as we get other applications, for sure.
Thank you. Beth Ackley?
But that just conversation was enlightening or interesting anyway, and it got me thinking about, is the church on any registers, and is this property holistically protected in the future should the new owners want to change it?
That is a great question and one that I should have been prepared to answer, and I can look that up. But if it is listed on the National Register, and it's quite possible that it is, then it would have certain protections under the Connecticut Environmental Protection Act if somebody did want to demolish it. Again, that's kind of outside what's going on here. We can't make a decision based on an unknown, future action. But
Right.
but yes, if it is listed on the National Register, there are certain protections. And I can look that up as we move along, or maybe somebody else
Liz-
can look it up for me. Since I'm a little-
Elizabeth, as far as we know at the diocese, it's not on any register. But that's not to say it hasn't been or is now. We just, our council hasn't located anything. We've been busy and we have found 2 descendants of the original family. And so before we can turn the property over to them, we have to make sure that any skeletal remains are removed. And then they have the ability to go through, if there is a designation, to decide what he and or she would like to do with the property, vis-a-vis either tear down the property or keep it as is and do something new with it.
Okay, it's a very unusual, a very unusual, unprecedented in some ways, interesting thing for us to consider since we haven't done
Well-
much of that. So,
Well, as an aside, I am the property manager for the diocese, and it was basically thrown in my lap. John, there's a little caveat to this property now that we've taken it back. And I said, what's that? And they said, well, there were a possibility of many bodies on the property. And my initial response was, excuse me? And I think I contacted Sarah initially, and I was afraid. This is like different territory for me. I'm used to hammer, nails, mechanicals. This is a different bailiwick for me. And my conversation with her was, oh yeah, this happened all the time back in the day. If they needed properties for roads or something, that they would just move people and, and bury them and go on. So sigh of relief with that, but I still have to find some place to reinter these folks. And that's another big question, not on your behalf or whatever, but so I'm just waiting to see if we can, again, get a little extra help here.
understood. Thank you for the background there.
Andy?
Is it possible for us to vote on this? I think it is based on the language of the actual motion to vote on whether or not to support the survey without explicitly endorsing moving them. In other words, can we fund the study without saying that we have any comment on what happens with the information?
Yeah, the motion is just to approve the application.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I would ask that the minutes reflect that I don't know, that I have nothing to say about moving the remains, or I have a question about moving the remains, but certainly it's important that we know if there are people buried under the parking lot, and that's a very appropriate use of our funds. So that's an easy thing for me to endorse that piece of it. And I don't have much to say about what happens with that information in the course of this vote or conversation. That strikes me as a different matter.
Thank you. John, I do have a couple of questions. In looking at the GIS database for Norwich, there are multiple parcels that make up the church property. Do you know where the original church building was located? Because the current building dates to 1880s, correct?
The original, I think the first stone was laid in 1849.
So the building that's on the site is, dates back all the way to 1849? Okay. Because I was curious as to whether or not it was on one of the adjacent lots. It's strange to me that there are multiple parcels in the property, and which physical section had the covenant, or every piece had a covenant. It seems at some point the property had to be subdivided to be listed individually. And so just was curious with the history talking about some remains were in the basement of the church. Could that have been an earlier building on the site that was taken down when the current building was constructed? That kind of history wasn't really clear.
The only thing that and we here at the diocese know is that it's one large property. And maybe back in the day, there were either a family that had control of various parcels there, just decided to donate it to the formation of Christ Episcopal Church. But in terms of knowing specifically, I can't tell you. I'm going by information that I have through our legal counsel based on whatever I could find in the town hall, articles, local historians that knew of the property. And there were some historians, there's a couple older folks there who this is a hobby for them. So to look for things such as this, and we're dedicated to the history of Norwich. They probably can't wait for me to tell them that there's something going on the property so they could be there.
Thank you. Tom,
Yeah,
you're muted.
listening to the conversation, I guess I have to ask this question. If this property is not on the state or at National Register, do we have the authority to approve this application?
This is considered a survey grant, so it doesn't need to be listed. However, it is a contributing resource to the Chelsea Parade National Register District in Norwich. Someone just put that in the chat, and I just looked it up on Congress. Yay, Congress! So, so
right,
it is
good.
listed on the NR. But because we consider this a survey grant, that's not a prerequisite. But yes, you are correct that usually we only fund designated historic structures, either on the state or national register.
Gotcha. Good. Thank you.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Seeing no hands raised, we'll move to roll call vote. Beckley,
Aye.
Fiaduce,
Aye.
still with us? Thank you. Beth Burgess,
Aye, but can we just verify again the action item here, just to reiterate
Oh,
what Andy had
sure.
said? Thank
Um,
you.
I'll read it again. The Historic Preservation Council votes to award a survey and planning grant funded by the Community Investment Act to the state of Connecticut to the below listed applicant in the amount shown. All grant guidelines and state requirements shall be met by the below listed applicant upon receipt of a grant as administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. The applicant is the Episcopal Church of Connecticut, and the project is the Geophysical Survey for Human Burials at the former Episcopal Church of Norwich, dating 1849 at 78 Washington Street, Norwich, Connecticut, in the amount of $5,000.
Okay,
So
thank you
it's
so much.
just
So
for,
aye
just
on
for the
that one.
identification.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll abstain. Marguerite Carnell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Leah Glazer,
Same. I mean, yeah, aye. Sorry.
Andy Horowitz,
I was looking at a word.
Aye.
Deanna's recused, and Sarah Spurtman.
Aye.
The motion carries. Be interesting to see what shows up under the entire parking lot.
I will keep you
Thank
posted.
you.
Thank you, everyone. I
you.
appreciate this. So does for the Bishop's Will as well. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you. Just confirm, V, are you leaving at this point?
Yes, I was going to
Okay.
test the group chat. Thank
Okay.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, item 5B2. Historic Preservation Council votes to award a survey and planning grant. Tia, Beth,
Actually, it's Deanna.
and
Bye.
and Jonathan, do we have Deanna back yet?
I just texted her. She should be back in a minute.
Okay, I'll wait to read the motion until she gets back in.
Okay, Deanna's back and V has left, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, I'll read the motion. Historic Preservation Council votes to award a survey and planning grant funded by the Community Investment Act of the State of Connecticut to the below listed applicant in the amount shown. All grant guidelines and state requirements shall be met of economic and community development. Staff recommends the application for funding. The applicant is the Newtown Historical Society, and the project is conditions assessment for the Matthew Curtis House circa 1750 at 44 Main Street, Newtown. The amount requested is $15,000. Can I have a motion to approve?
So move, Tom.
Thank you. And a second?
Marguerite?
Thank you. Discussion?
Good morning again. As staff recommends approval of this application, the Historical Society, as you noted in the narrative, has been the recipient of a generous donor. They've already done some work that appears to me that does meet the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic buildings, but and then received another generous donation. And so before moving forward with spending that money, they want to do a little step back and take a look at the property as a whole so they can make better informed decisions moving forward. So, you know, we were very happy to hear that and happy to be part of it. So we do recommend approval. I think Louise Wagner may be on the phone. I'm not sure if she's here, but I will try to answer any questions or comments that you have.
I'm
Oh.
on the call.
Oh,
Yep,
great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any comments or questions from council members?
Yeah, Paul, I have a question.
Tom?
Mary, on pages 2 and 3, I see conflicting dates for when Curtis sold the house, 1807 and 1824. Are those two different Curtises, or are they the same person, just a typo?
Is this the narrative part?
Yes.
Okay. So he
It's
purchased it
the
in
same person.
1781? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the same person. That was an error on my part. I apologize.
So when did he sell it? 07 or 24?
I would have to research that for you and get back to you on that, and I could do that, have that answer for you by the afternoon. It was sold in the 70s to the Newtown Historical Society.
Right. Okay. No, you don't need to get back to me. I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
I noticed the same thing, Tom. It was a little bit different, you know, to figure out. He sold it, but then he stayed in the house, and then it said he sold it again. So,
Well,
just for the record.
He had an agreement that he would live in the house. He sold the house and then lived in the house for his lifetime. And
So he
did.
vacated the house. Okay.
Yeah, yes, it was sold, but he still resided there until until he moved with, I think, one of his children and passed.
Yeah, there was just a big gap between 1970 and when he left the property in the description. So that made it a little bit more confusing.
Yes, I apologize. It was owned by, I think, a doctor at one point, and it was a doctor that sold it to the Newtown Historical Society.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council members? Seeing none, we can move to a roll call vote. Beth Ackley?
She's recused, Paul.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Crossed out the wrong one. Beth Burgess.
Aye.
I'll abstain. Marguerite Carnell?
Aye.
Tom Elmore?
Aye.
Leah Glazer?
Aye.
Andy Horowitz?
Aye.
Deanna Rhodes?
Aye.
And Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
The motion carries. We wish them well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, if we can get Beth back in, and then I'll read the next motion when she's back.
Sounds good. Just exit her.
Gotta love the internet. When it works, it's great. When sometimes it lags. Mary, before we start this one, while we're waiting for Beth, could you just be sure to discuss the amount requested versus the total project cost?
Yeah.
Thanks. Give her another minute. Jonathan, did you want to call or just text?
I just texted, but I'll call her now.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Paul, she's on her way back in now.
Thank you.
Okay, you're all set.
Okay. Item 5B3, the Historic Preservation Council votes to award a survey and planning grant funded by the Community Investment Act of the State of Connecticut to the below listed applicant in the amount shown. All grant guidelines and state requirements shall be met by a below listed applicant upon receipt of a grant as administered by the Department of Economic and Community Development. Staff recommends the application for funding. The applicant is St. Mary of the Immaculate Conception Church in Baltic. And the project has plans and specifications for restoration of the bell tower at St. Mary of the Immaculate Conception Church, dated 1911, at 70 West Main Street, Baltic. The amount requested is $20,000. Can I have a motion to approve?
Beth Ackley, so moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Deanna Rhodes.
Thank you, Deanna. Discussion?
Staff does recommend approval of this application. It is project specific. It's for plans and specifications. But clearly the architect or engineer will have to do an initial assessment before they can do those plans and specs. This is considered a non-matching grant because they do plan to take the plans and specifications for the and apply to the Historic Restoration Fund grant. They received I guess a verbal probable construction cost of about 400,000. So I think, I mean, our cap is 20. So I think that this is probably enough for plans and specs, you know, for this discrete project. So Carl Holt is here if you have any questions about the budget or the project itself or anything that I can't answer.
Thank you, Mary.
And this will be competitively bid. I'm sorry, if they get the grant.
Okay. Beth Ackley?
Carl, a question for you. It sounds like this was inspired or motivated by noticing some sponginess and a drop based on the shims below the bell frame. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And does that look like it's translating down into the framing below, or are you thinking this is really a building envelope and a a bell frame restoration project?
It actually, the supporting structure under the bell has to be restored as well.
It does. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been getting some leaks in there and okay.
Yeah. So we have leaks that actually that's how we ended up finding out the bell was sagging, is because we had some leaks that were weeps and then they turned into leaks and they were getting on the organ. And when we repaired the leaks, we found structural damage underneath the bell. And as we were up on top, opened up the hatch to go up and look at the bell, we found that one of the supporting structures has dropped about 6 inches
Okay, because it's rotted, you think,
because
deteriorated?
it's rotted. Correct.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you for that.
Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Carl, you just reinforced my question or my statement here. So this is to council and to staff. You know, in years past, we've talked about expediting grant monies for emergencies. And I'm wondering if this is an emergency project that somehow can be expedited. So I don't know. I'd hate to see this church have the same results of the church, wherever that was, 6 months ago.
Yeah. Expediting an historic restoration fund grant, you mean? I think the actual bricks and mortar, or just expediting
Just
the
getting
pre-development?
them there
part?
so the bell tower doesn't fall over and take down the whole church. And I don't
I
know what
know,
that
I
means.
know.
I'm
That's our
just
biggest
know.
fear.
throwing
That's
that
why
out there.
we're doing this initial assessment will help us understand the gravity of how quickly we need to act on it, right? You know, that's one of the sidelines we have for doing this with the engineering team coming in.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. I'm just wondering if there's something we and staff can do to
Well,
get you there faster.
yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of a funding discussion later, but in the past, we did have the Threatened Properties Fund, which was implemented when HRF was on a yearly cycle, which it is now. And the Threatened Properties Fund was put in place to give the council a mechanism, and it was their decision to allow someone to apply for funding, prior to the next HRF round. Unfortunately, we don't have the funding for that, but I definitely hope that we can implement that grant again, because yeah.
And just as a side note, the project is going to end up being more than $400,000, but this is a matching max of $200,000 for the bell tower. But some of the restoration work, we've been working with Kathy Austin, and she's in support of helping us get some additional funding as well.
Great.
That was
Mary,
it. Thank you.
maybe, oh, thanks, Tom. Mary, maybe when the RFP is written, not to include something to identify any temporary shoring that is required in the interim condition. That way it's not just, here's the ultimate thing that, might not happen for 3 years because of funding concerns, but, really making sure that there's an identification of immediate need if it exists. So you're able to secure something to kind of prevent, greater losses in the future.
That's a good idea.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, we can move to a roll call vote. Steph Ackley,
Aye.
Seth Burgess,
Aye.
I'll abstain. Marguerite Carnell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Leah Kaiser,
Aye.
Andy Horowitz,
Aye.
Sarah Sportman,
Aye.
and Deanna Rhodes.
Aye.
Motion
Great.
carries. We wish you well, and hopefully it'll work out very safely for you.
You guys are fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
I'm going to drop off now. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is item 7, local historic district property study reports. Item A is unfinished action item. I assume I need to have a motion to recall this item. So we'll just do that quickly. Motion to recall the historic property study for 216 Hills Point Road in Westport.
So moved, Marguerite.
Thank you, Marguerite.
Second, Leah.
And a second.
Second, Leah.
Thank you, Leah. Without objection, so moved. I'll read the motion. Pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 7-147Q, subsection C, the Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance and boundary for the proposed 216 Hills Point Road, Westport, Connecticut, as presented in the study report transmitted by the town of Westport on October 15th, 2024. Now, this is a motion to approve the full motion. Motion in a second, please.
So moved, Tom.
I'll second
Tom, in
Beth
a second.
Burgess.
Thank you, Beth. Discussion, Mary or Aaron?
Hey.
Who's going to?
Yeah, it's me. These are all mine. So this was tabled from the last meeting because there was some concern that there were multiple parcels delineated on the site, which would technically make it a district, even if there's one structure. Generally, if it's multiple parcels, it's a district. However, I did check with the town and with the consultant that put together the report, and the town considers it one parcel. It taxes it as one parcel and assesses it as one parcel, which has not been the case in other multiple parcel single property districts. So I'm leaving it as a single property. I will, if we're still a little, not uncomfortable, but if we're still a little iffy on that, I can just put that in the comments that the council, had a question about the multiple, even though they've addressed it, the town has addressed it, has answered that concern. If I can still put it in the comments, in the letter, if you want me to, just that we had a question about the fact that there were multiple parcels.
Yep. So it's listed as one property. The boundary corresponds to the entire zone, and for all practical purposes, the internal demarcation lines are kind of a leftover from some other proposed survey in the past, but it's one parcel.
As far as the town is concerned, and as far as the assessor is concerned,
Okay.
Donna Douglas with the town is here, and Darren Raymond Locke is here as well. But that was the information that was conveyed to me.
Thank you for verifying that. Any comments or questions from council? Deanna Rhodes?
So the person from the town that's here, if they could address if these could be officially merged, so this question doesn't come up in the future. I mean, it's a pretty easy document to file to merge those two lots together to make sure that they officially are one. That's just a question I have, if that's possible to do.
Mary
Hi,
Donna
this is
Douglas.
Darren.
Yeah.
This is
Sorry.
Darren Raymond Locke. I don't know if Donna is on or has the ability to speak. We can look into it, but as far as we're concerned, the town of Westport sees it all as one lot. We talked to the town attorney as well. He doesn't think that there's a necessity there. These lot lines were filed in 1927. The whole area, if you look at how the town has listed that whole area, you see those lot lines through every single lot in the area, but they're all already considered one parcel. But I can certainly ask the town if that's something that they could look into or whatnot. But as far as they're concerned, it already is one parcel.
And I will add that comment to the letter, Deanna, just to even, just because that's, it's a comment from the council, so I'll put that in for sure.
It is a common occurrence, where a subdivision is laid out for 50-foot lots and then they sell them off as double lots, and it's always described as the outer perimeter, but they were, referencing back to some filed plan at some point in time that they corresponded. Happened at my house. So as long as we don't have to do any other gymnastics for the nomination, I think we're okay. Any further comments or questions? If not, we can move to a roll call vote. Seeing none. Beth Ackley,
Aye.
Beth Burgess,
Aye.
I'll abstain. Marguerite Cornell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Leah Glazer,
Aye.
Andy Horowitz, Andy, still with us?
Yes, sorry, my button was frozen as I desperately tried to assent. Aye.
Thank you. And you're off of my screen at the moment, so I couldn't see you. Deanna
Aye.
and Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you,
For
everyone.
the Thank you for the clarifications. Moving right along, item 7B1 through 6. These are 6 local historic properties that are contained in the same report. I believe we'll have to vote on each individually, but I assume we can do one broad discussion at the beginning, if that makes sense, Mary. So
Sure.
we'll just go through, but I'll have to have a motion in a second for each individual parcel. So we'll start with number 7B1, Historic Property Study Report. Pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 7-147, Q, subsection C, the Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance and boundary for the proposed cross-highway bridge over Dedham Brook as presented in the study report transmitted by the town of Westport on October 15th, 2024. I have a motion to approve.
Marguerite, so moved.
And a second.
Tom,
Beth
second.
Ackley, second. Oh, you can have it, Tom.
Okay. Discussion on the full 6.
Okay, so
Mary.
as Paul noted, these actually were all presented in one report, but we needed to separate them out just in case, just because they're each separate properties. Again, your charge is to comment on the boundary and ordinance, but obviously any other comments or concerns you have will be conveyed to the study report committee before or as it moves forward. I believe these were submitted both as a way of recognizing the bridges themselves, but also probably as a protection measure, but just bearing in mind that state and national agencies do not comply with local ordinances. So I'm not sure the level of protection this will add, but it is a good recognition. I believe Donna Douglas is still here. Who she staffs she's with the town of Westport and staffs the HDC, but I will be happy to collect comments and answer any questions I can.
Thank you, Mary. Jonathan, do you see the chat that there's someone waiting to be
Yes,
admitted?
except there's no one in the lobby, so I just responded to Donna and asked her to resend the link.
Okay.
I wonder.
Leah,
Hi, Grayson.
Leah?
Yeah.
The meeting, I'm sorry, the meetings have moved to a different site. Yeah. I mean, if you look in the chat.
Yep, sounds like she was in the wrong room. She'll be over soon.
Should I wait or?
It's up to you.
So this is Mary here or she, I don't know, who am I talking to?
Mary's here.
I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were dealing with the other situation. Okay. So this is just a comment about, the bridges and the giving the comment about we don't know how much protection, but I guess the preservation point here is the documentation. So just a comment about making the documentation as thorough as possible is to, there was a little bit discussion about the role of transportation infrastructure in Westport with the automobile and the craftsman style, but I was hoping maybe for a little bit more about the craftsman style and stone bridges to put that in a little bit of a larger context and And the whole idea that stone and somebody can correct me, but before concrete, stone was the main strongest material. So I just wanted to kind of just see that if that could be fleshed out just a little bit.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will
Thank you.
make a note of that for sure.
Marguerite? You're muted.
Just a couple of points. I'm really excited to see a town dedicate this much effort to documenting and protecting these bridges. Westport's already lost some, and it's really great to see that they want to, protect these. One question I had was, has a thematic multiple property nomination been considered for this particular group? That's one question. And then another question is, has the Historic District Commission thought about the strategies that they will support for future rehabilitation of the bridges? Because that certainly is going to be an ongoing issue for maintenance and repair.
I believe when Carol Leahy was the CLG coordinator in Westport, she had approached me with a multiple resource property documentation form for these bridges. We have not received anything, but there has been discussion about it. So there may be one forthcoming in the future.
Yeah, there's several of
okay.
those in the Silvermine area too, which is so anyway, that could be certainly fruitful.
We definitely.
Yeah,
and there are a couple of them that are listed in the Westport Center district, but there would certainly be more protection if they were all grouped together in a national, multiple property listing.
Beth Ackley?
I was wondering if there are drawings, if these were engineered in a way. I noticed that at least one of them has a reinforced concrete deck. And to the point of maintenance, Marguerite's comment, certainly that needs maintenance. So if there are drawings that have been uncovered that show the specifics of that, and I mean, I know this is sort of just offering bits of whatever we have to offer here, but mentioning those drawings in this just so to sort of a trail of breadcrumbs to help someone restore it in the future might be helpful.
I think you want to have a time, like just together something.
Thanks, Beth. Especially since one of them is different than the others. The Jessup Road Bridge without having the parapet walls. There was kind of a question mark were those removed at some point in time, especially with that center span being, slightly different with the cast road deck, span, and the metal railing. It was kind of a question: was it different earlier on in its life? So if there were existing original drawings, those would be helpful. And Mary, just this a picky thing on the cover page, it would be really helpful if each of the images was labeled, so you can kind of tie it back and forth.
Indeed.
Sorry,
yeah. Okay.
I
think
went
I
back.
highlighted the ordinance, but that was at the very end of the document. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay.
I went back in and hand wrote them in just so I can kind of keep track of it. And when we had the information on Jessup that was missing, I was like, well, which one is Jessup? So trying to piece it back together. But just helps people when they look through and it's like, oh, okay, because sometimes a close-up view people don't recognize right off the bat, even if they're familiar with the town.
Yeah.
So that would just be a nice little guidepost for
A
people.
little more, yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments from council that apply to any of the individual ones? Or otherwise we can go just through each of the 6 nominations one by one and complete our paperwork. Seeing no hands raised, I'll read the motion again. Pursuant to the Connecticut General Statute, Section 7-147 Q, subsection C, Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance and boundary for the proposed crossed highway bridge over Dedham Brook as presented in the study report transmitted by the town of Westport on October 15th, 2024. Beth Ackley,
Aye.
Beth Burgess,
Aye.
I'll abstain. Marguerite Carnell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Leah Glazer,
Aye.
Andy Horowitz. I see this.
Hi, yeah, sorry about the sticky button. I'm here, I'm listening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Deanna Rhodes
Aye.
and Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries. Motion 7B2, Historic Cross Property Survey Property Study Report. Pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 7-147Q, subsection C, the Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance and boundary for the proposed Evergreen Avenue Bridge over Dedham Brook as presented in the study report transmitted by the town of Westport on October 15th, 2024. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Beth Burgess.
Paul, point
Yes.
of order. You need to bring it to the table for discussion. And then ask for approval.
Okay. So a motion to approve, and then we'll have a discussion. First, was that Beth Burgess?
I was just giving the approval
The mo-
that we're good to
the
go.
mo-
Yeah,
Okay, and a
a
second.
motion, yeah.
I'll second it, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Discussion.
Um,
Hearing.
Anybody have any questions or comments
I mean-
regarding? Yeah, I don't know.
Hearing
The
no-
boundary or
no-
ordinance or anything else, I will have happy to convey.
Thank you. Okay. So now we'll move to the approval. Roll call. Beth Ackley,
Aye.
Beth Burgess,
Aye.
I'll abstain. Marguerite Carnell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Leah Glazer,
Aye.
Andy Horowitz,
Aye.
Deanna Rhodes,
Aye.
and Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
This motion carries. Moving right along, item 7B3, Historic Property Study Report. Pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 7-147Q, subsection C, the Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance and boundary for the proposed Green Farms Road Bridge over Muddy Brook, as presented in the study report transmitted by the town of Westport on October 15th, 2024. Motion to approve.
Aye, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. And a second.
Beth Ackley?
Thank you. Discussion.
Comments, questions?
Hearing none, we'll move to the roll call vote. Beth Ackley,
Aye.
Beth Burgess,
Aye.
I'll abstain. Marguerite Carnell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Leah Glazer,
Aye.
Andy Horowitz,
Aye.
Deanna Rhodes,
Aye.
and Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
The motion carries. Item 7B4, Historic Properties Study Report. Pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 7-147Q, subsection C, the Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance and boundary for the proposed Jessup Road Bridge over Dead Man's South Brook, as presented in the study report transmitted by the town of Westport on October 15th, 2024. Motion to approve,
Tom, so moved.
and a second.
Marguerite?
Thank you. Discussion.
Same.
Hearing no questions.
Refer back.
The above?
Oh,
Yeah.
ditto. Beth Ackley,
Aye.
Beth Burgess,
Aye.
I'll abstain. Marguerite Carnell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Leah Glazer,
Aye.
Andy Horowitz,
Aye.
Deanna Rhodes,
Aye.
and Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
The motion carries. Item 7B5, Historic Property Study Report. Pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 7-147Q, subsection C, the Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance and boundary for the proposed Long Lots Road Bridge over Muddy Brook, as presented in the study report transmitted by the town of Westport on October 15th, 2024. Motion to approve.
So move, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. And a second.
Beth Ackley?
Thank you. Discussion.
Ibid, upset, whatever they say. Refer back.
Hearing none, we'll move to the roll call. Beth Ackley,
Aye.
Beth Burgess,
Aye.
I'll abstain. Marguerite Cornell,
Aye.
Tom Elmore,
Aye.
Leah Glazer,
Aye.
Andy Horowitz,
Aye.
Deanna Rhodes,
Aye.
and Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
The motion carries. Almost done. Agenda item 7B6, Historic Property Study Report, pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 7-147Q, subsection C. The Historic Preservation Council votes to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance and boundary for the proposed Myrtle Avenue Bridge over Deadman South Brook, as presented in the study report transmitted by the town of Westport on October 15th, 2024. I have a motion to approve.
So move, Tom.
And a second.
Marguerite.
Oh, you've got it,
Oh.
Marguerite.
Discussion.
Any final comments?
Speak now or forever hold your peace. Hearing none, roll call vote. Beth Ackley,
Aye.
Beth Burgess,
Aye.
I'll abstain. Marguerite Cornell,
Aye.
Thomas Elmore,
Aye.
Leah Glazer,
Aye.
Andy Horowitz,
Aye.
Deanna Rhodes,
Aye.
and Sarah Sportman.
Aye.
The motion carries. All 6 have been approved. And Mary, we would just, encourage them to go after that multi-property listing if they can in the future,
Right. Good suggestion. Great. I'll pass that along.
especially with changing DOT requirements. And, somebody's going to say the load capacity is not there. And, any help we can provide them, the better. Okay.
Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is item 9, threatened property is SEPA update from Todd Levine. Todd here.
Hi, folks. Good morning. Looks like I got a little brightness behind me, but I have been in touch with the Attorney General's office as well as the owners about the recommendations that were made to the owners for ways to help the new construction fit in better with the neighborhood. And I'm going to share briefly my screen. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
All right. So this
Yes.
is what this is their initial proposal, which, as you can see, the main component of it goes straight up 6 stories, and then there's a step back and it goes up an additional story. We had talked about breaking it up and having some level of rhythm from the ground level that better reflects the smaller scale buildings to the right in this picture. As you can see, there's a 2-story building that's existing there. What is there now is a 2- and 3-story building that would be demolished. We talked about the other options that we presented to you as prudent and feasible alternatives, which included facadectomy, which they declined to do because of cost, and adaptive reuse of the buildings as is, due to the fact that over the years they've been trying to adaptively reuse them to no avail. So what we asked them to do is to step back at the second level so that rhythm of the existing 2 and 3 story buildings is not lost in this big mass, which they did. So here is what they came up with, which was at the second level to step it back 3 feet. And in between the existing historic building at 2 stories and their new construction, they set it back 5 feet. So there is some level of setback that helps with that rhythm and size. SHPO talked with the Office of the Attorney General. We think this is probably the best we're going to get. The AG is not, this is probably not something they were going to pick up. So I think this is about the best we're going to get. We also talked to them about reincorporating some of the historic fabric into the design, and they said they're going to make every effort to do so because they also said they wanted to do that with the municipality. So that's kind of where we're at. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Todd. And just for everybody else's benefit, yeah, we did have a few back and forth with the OAG's office and the owner. And our concern was that the new proposed massing being right at the sidewalk level was too much of a change from the existing context going through. So I think in this proposal where the center block is at the scale of what was there previously and pushing things back, improved the situation, putting the emphasis more on the existing scale of that district versus the scale of the adjacent hotel building, which was a non-contributing resource. So the other thing that just to note for council members is that they are still obligated to go back to, what was it, the Design Review Committee, Todd?
Yep.
And present a preservation plan and how they were going to incorporate or preserve some of the historic elements, so that review is still pending when it goes back to their final approvals from the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Next item is item 11, the report on State Historic Preservation Office from Jonathan Kinney.
Good morning, everyone. Jonathan Kinney from the State Historic Preservation Office here with my final report of 2024. I have 3 items for you today. First and most importantly, on behalf of SHPO, I wanted to just take a minute to thank the members of the Historic Preservation Council for your time, your dedication, and your commitment to the important work that we all do. The support and guidance that you provide to staff and our applicants each year is incredibly valuable and contributes to many successful preservation projects that directly benefit the people of Connecticut. So thank you very much. We are extremely grateful for our partnership with HPC, and we look forward to continuing our work together with you in 2025. The second item I have is sort of along the same thought of a look ahead to 2025. I just wanted to run through a couple bullets with you as we're wrapping up our statewide planning efforts in the first half of next year. I'd like to try to tackle some of these additional HPC related bullets. But first, I just wanted to let you know that I will be working on the schedule for 2025 and the meetings, but the first meeting of next year will be January 8th. So get that on your calendars, and I'll get an invite out to you shortly. I just wanted to give you a heads up that will be the date of the first meeting next year, and just a reminder that will be the meeting on which during which we focus on HRF grant reviews. So that will be our capital funding meeting. Erin is working really hard to get all of that material prepped for you, and I believe her intent is to get that to you next week by Friday, next Friday at the latest. So you'll have just under a month to do all those reviews, because those can be a little dense and a little thicker than the normal applications, but I don't believe there will be a huge number of them. So look for that coming out next week. Continuing along just with the thought of look ahead for next year, I do want to circle back to a few discussions we were having first regarding our statutory language and continue to work on that alongside you. I also want to continue to try to pick up our effort to put together a set of bylaws or procedures for HPC. That is on my list. I will obviously continue to work with the governor's office to update membership as terms expire. Had some struggles with responses from them this year, but I'm hoping that that will improve as we go forward. And also any additional trainings that council is interested in, I'd be happy to accommodate that. Please just reach out and let me know if you have any thoughts there. And then the final thing I wanted to share with you was a request from Paul, who had asked SHPO and staff to just do a quick report today on where we are with grant budgets and remaining funds within those budgets. We're sort of at the halfway mark of the fiscal year, so this is a good time to share those numbers with you. And I'm going to share my screen, then I'm going to ask Mary to jump on and just run through this with you. So give me 1 second and I'll share my screen here with you. And we just take a quick peek at the spreadsheet that Mary put together. Okay, I hope you're all seeing that. Mary, do you want to run through this for a minute or two?
Sure. So this is just our fiscal year, this fiscal year, kind of an update for you. We generally get deposits from the community investment account, and that's what funds all of our grants, basically, except for the federal ones. We get deposits of about 2.5, 2.7 million. So we created this budget of 1 million for HRF grants, 480,000 for survey and planning, 100,000 for partners in preservation, and then 250 for the Preservation Connecticut Circuit Rider program. You will see that we're that 80,000 negative. This is just our working budget. That 80,000 is often made up by either grants that don't spend all the money they said they would, so the money is reabsorbed into the community investment account because it doesn't lapse, and just the fact that we bring in more than the 1.7 that we're allotting, but we have spent a lot of our money down, and so we are committing to a more tight budget. So that's the basic budget. So awards to date, you have already awarded 356,500. I think I said that right. You've awarded that to date, which leaves about 123,500 through July of this year or June. The HRF grants are coming up in January. We have $1 million budget. We've actually, you awarded a $200,000 grant a couple months ago, maybe last meeting. So that actually leaves 800,000. That we did award the Circuit Rider grant, and we did award one Partners in Preservation grant. So this is just a look at what, so it's not going to be too busy for the rest of the year. I am planning a February round. There's a lot of demand, but we'll only have about 123,000 to spend, which is, if they were all maxed, that'd be about 6 grants. So it will be competitive. But I am letting people know that, with the start of the next fiscal year, there will be more funding opening up. So that's what we're looking at. Does anybody have any questions about it or comments?
Thank you, Mary. This is helpful.
Thank you, Mary.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Any questions on anything else that I went through? If not, I will turn it back to Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is item 12, the report on museum properties from Liz Shapiro.
Hi, everybody. All right, what's been going on at the end of, it's pretty much the end of our season. It's the end of our season for two of our 4 museums. Sorry, we have 4. Old Newgate Prison and Eric Sloan pretty much have a hard close at the end of October, the very beginning of November. But this year, Prudence Crandall Museum is open on Sundays for 2 different tours a day. Same tour, offered twice every Sunday, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And so that's a new thing for us to keep that museum open year round. And then the Henry Whitfield Museum pretty much closes down after this Friday when they host their last event of the year, which is the Firelight Festival. terms of what's going on off season, museums, we have a pretty vigorous plan for off season. We're working on updating emergency and safety policies and procedures. We're also continuing to put portions of the museum's collection live online via our collections management platform, Connecticut Collections. That's our online database. Connecticut Collections, we use this to manage our collections, but it has an online database component which focuses on museum collections that share data from over 20 Connecticut collections, and more than that now. We have already quite a few objects in from Henry Whitfield and from Sloan, and we are now in December, early January, Newgate and Crandall objects will be live on the portal, and that's a big step forward. So kudos to Jody Paulsgrove, our curator of collections, who's really been pushing that initiative. At the same time, we continue to work on how to manage the proper deaccessioning techniques with the state's surplusing. And it looks like not in this coming legislative session, but in the next legislative session, we'll be advancing some legislation that talks about deaccessioning of museum collections and changing the definition of museum collections from just general objects that are owned by the state. We may need your help for that, so I will keep you posted. We're also working to schedule some offsite professional development opportunities. And the first thing we're doing is going to the Stowe Center for a visit in December, a tour, but then a professional development workshop afterwards. Continuing to move forward with the current and future historic preservation projects at Newgate and Whitfield, the gifts that keep on giving. It's really fun to see how the museums intersect, especially with younger school kids, right? And we know that we play a role, working with students who participate in History Day, but we've started working more deeply with the Salisbury School, which is a private prep middle school and high school in Salisbury, Connecticut. And they put on something called the Troutbeck Symposium. And if Troutbeck sounds familiar to you, I'm not going to go into it. It should. There's a reason. It's where one of the original meetings of the NAACP was held, and where those conversations started. But the project that they work on with the students, and this is put on by the students, is called Coloring Our Past. And so we have a piece that has been completed for Newgate, and the group is going to be taking a field trip out to the Crandall Museum in the next few weeks. And this group really works quite well and is involved in the work that the Freedom Trail does. So these are students. The goal of this project is to have students actually do history and be historians, and the work that they do is incredible. So I just wanted to share that. Specifically what's been happening at some of the museums, at the Crandall Museum, the ceiling replacement work is on schedule to be completed next week. So really hoping that this time the plaster replacement ceiling stays in place. So that's our first hope for our New Year's wish. And really exciting, this sounds a little crazy, but Dr. Jennifer Rice-Singa is a historian who has been working on a book on Prudence Crandall and the Canterbury Female Boarding School for a long time. And in fact, the book has just been released. And so the museum is going to host an author talk and book signing for the book, which is called Schooling the Nation, on Sunday, January 12th from 1 to 3 p.m. And this is a big deal. The book takes all the most current scholarship, and Jennifer has been researching this for years and days. It's her life work basically. So this should be really exciting. And we've also been working, Joni DiMartino, the curator on site, has been working with an independent museum educational professional to look at explore and review options for programming at the museum that's linked to the semi-quincentennial. And that project is a part of a grant that the museum received from the Last Green Valley National Heritage Corridor. At the Sloan Museum, really what we've been working on is honing in on how to work with the organization Trades Up, which has presented the Trades Up Festival. Now I think we're going into our third year. It is gaining more and more momentum. They have been having mini festivals at different sites in Connecticut and hosting trades days where they focus on historic trades and contemporary trades, but they do hands-on work with participants. And this is something that we really could use across the board in Connecticut, and specifically in the historic preservation field, because we have very few practitioners who are really, I don't know that we have enough practitioners in Connecticut to take on the vast amount of historic preservation work that is currently existing and will continue to exist. So we're really excited about how the museum is focusing that way. Also, just things that I don't mention. Eric Sloan Museum has a great partnership with the pre-K at the Kent Center School, which sounds really weird. And pre-K is not normally what you would associate necessarily with the Eric Sloan Museum. But for the past few years, I think 2 or 3 years, the pre-K group has been visiting the museum once a month during the whole school year. And they use it as an indoor-outdoor classroom. And the activities are run and planned by both the teacher and by Andrew Rowan there. And so that partnership continues to develop, and it's really highly valued by the school, and very proud of that one. And of course, we're continuing to work with DEEP in regard to the transfer of property from DEEP management to DECD management. All of the property that abuts the Eric Sloan Museum, we're hoping to have come under our management. That will make life a little bit less complicated. Old Newgate Prison and Copper Mine, still, we're still working on the restoration projects, adding the restoration replacement of windows on the guardhouse. That is a long overdue project. But just to share, I'll share more stats next time we talk about the museum season. But just to give you a sense, I talked about the Light into the Dungeon event, and I'm hoping some of you were able to come. Those are the jack-o'-lanterns in the prison, in the mine. But that, the visitation number for that event was 4,520 people. That's only up for 1 month. And the earned income was over $79,000, almost $80,000 for that event. And that does help us pay for programs across the museums, and also to pay for the needed work across the museums. So we're really lucky to Morgan has done a terrific job with that event. And then at the Henry Whitfield Museum, as I mentioned, still waiting for approval from the Park Service on their grant project, which will tackle some of our preservation issues in the museum. But their last event is this Friday, Firelight Festival, 4 to 7. It's the 25th year. There's marshmallows, there's hot cider and cookies and all those kinds of things, and hot chocolate. And it's going to be really cold. And so it'll be really fun. And I'll be serving cider and hot chocolate and wearing my long johns and lots of wool. So if you're in Guilford and you want to do something fun on Friday night, it's a really nice event. I'm happy to take any questions, but thank you all. And I wish you exactly the kind of December and New Year that works for you.
Thank you, Liz. Jonathan, any new business?
None scheduled, but I believe Jane is here for public comment.
Great. So item 15, liaison with public and private agencies. Jane Montanaro.
Hi, everyone. Jane Montanaro with Preservation Connecticut. I just have 2 announcements. The first is our 1772 Foundation grants. It's a private foundation that supports maintenance and repair grants for museums and historical societies and nonprofits. The window to submit letters of intent is open, but they're due December 13th at 5 o'clock, and that's an online platform for organizations to submit those. And then we also have hired our Circuit Rider Fellow that we've been advertising. We're really excited to announce that Andrea Florsheimer has joined us this week. It's her first week with us as our new hire. And this is a position that was fully funded by Board of Trustees at Preservation Connecticut. And Andrea comes to us with a Bachelor of Arts in History from Columbia. And she most recently worked as the Engagement Associate at MIT Hillel, and as the Archivist and Heritage Cultural Collections Coordinator for a Native community in Alaska, the Kajukmiut, which I hope I pronounced that correctly. But she has a nice experience and exposure to working with various communities, community outreach and education programming, grant writing, grant administration, and she even administered a capital grant. So we think she's going to be a great candidate to be out in the field with our circuit riders, and she's going to be providing support for our CIF grant in Bridgeport. So we're really excited to welcome her to our team and hope you get a chance to meet her. And then I'd also like to extend, best holiday wishes to you all, and thank you for another terrific year working in partnership with the SHPO and with the council.
Thank you, Jane. Any members of the public scheduled to speak, Jonathan? None?
No.
All right. So I think that brings us to our final item, which is adjournment. And I'll also extend my best wishes to everyone for a happy holiday season, a good 2025. And can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make it, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. And a second? Everybody wants to stay around.
Beth Ackley, second.
All right, without objection, so moved. We stand adjourned until January 8th. Happy holidays.
Thank you all so much.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy
Happy holidays.
holidays.
Happy holidays.